Yes. We're finished?
No, no.
We still have room. You're the first team we've heard who has mentioned the NAACP versus Alabama case. You just mentioned it. Why is it significant in the discussion that we are now having? What did it show?
Well, what happened in NAACP versus Alabama is it established a freedom of association in the First Amendment, a right that's implied instead of textually enumerated.
And this is important because Tocqueville thought it was a very good thing to associate and to have civic associations because civic participation was a big part of his pillars.
Also, this case had to do with the freedom or the freedom to not show who was the members of your association. And this has been kind of controversial because there's been controversy over whether in the initiative system, petition signers' names should be released.
It was fairly easy in 1960 for a two-parent family to be able to make enough, one person working to be able to make enough for college. College prices have gone through the roof. I'm just curious what your opinion is on ideas that might work outside of the affirmative action in order to get more, greater opportunity for the folks for problems.
Well, I'd argue that we should implement a system like exists in Europe, where, for example, in Britain, the Labour Party has been working to make tuition completely free, so you can attend college regardless of your financial situation.
Also, I'd look to a system like in Canada, where if you are a Canadian citizen, the tuition to go to a very big, very renowned school is as low as $5,000 a year.
Also, in some states, like the state of Michigan, college tuition to a state school is very discounted to people who are born in that state and have gone to high school in that state. And I think systems like this would be very good for promoting equality of opportunity.
When you go back, wait.
I'm sorry, just what happens when your state doesn't have a college, like a medical school, like Alaska doesn't have a medical school, for instance?
Well, we can look to the idea of Oregon and Montana, where we have this contract set up where we share in-state tuition for both states. So if you don't have a medical school in Oregon you'd like to go to, you can go to one in Montana.
When you go back home, how are you going to try and convince your fellow students to get involved in politics? What's the killer argument of why they should be involved?
Well, I'd first argue that without getting involved in your government, you really do not have any grounds to complain. People above the age of 18 pursuant to the 26th Amendment are allowed to vote. And if you're not voting, you're not...
Finish your sentence, yeah.
And if you're not voting and you're not electing your representatives, such as your House of Representatives representative under Article 1, Section 2, and your senator under the 17th Amendment, you really aren't choosing who's going to be running your government and who's going to be deciding things that will affect your future.
Well, you're ready with your filibuster here, too, aren't you?
Enjoyed your spirited discussion. I like the opening and the identification of pillars that you thought were important. Would like you have to extend it a little bit, why those pillars are critical, and then your comparison of Tocqueville's time and our time on that. Was very glad to see that you got the NAACP case in and the importance of being able to protect membership lists. Like to have seen you go a little farther. Why is it essential that we protect the right of association to the extent that membership lists cannot be used as targets for other purposes? You talked about the National Endowment for the Arts and another example there that used to be that what they are doing, the service they are rendering, used to be private, but today isn't. I was unsure whether you were really advocating that those go back to being private, and I would like to have asked that question, but the timekeeper interfered. Because that's important, because it involves some of the values that you enunciated in the pillars that you brought out to begin with, and that affects the access of larger or lesser numbers of people. All told, I think it was a very good discussion, and I enjoyed hearing you.
Thank you.
I think group of 6 like you put things together, unlike we've seen groups today do, and you guys did it in a real cohesive way. You should applaud yourselves being good group members. I thought that it was good to see some healthy debate, and I know I was going to ask a question on what this person meant about that issue, and then there would be disagreement, and both were equally logical and made sense, and I think that that's good. I would have liked to hear, I think, we heard a little bit about juries and some of the constitutional amendments, and I think we wanted to hear more on the constitutional application, but definitely the cases that were cited before were important in this discussion. Your question answers, especially bringing in a lot of different other countries, I think really proved the point and got clearly to comparing democracies with other countries, which we didn't really hear much today, anyways. And I think you did a really good job.
Thank you.
I like to use the statistics. Hard data tends to push out soft opinions, and I think you did a good job with a lot of facts. I did like your counterpoint at the beginning. I know yesterday I think we told your group that don't be afraid to disagree, and you kind of took that to heart. But more importantly, I want you to look around this room a little bit. You're sitting in a very rarefied atmosphere. I'm holding the $3 trillion hammer right here in the Appropriations Committee here. There are very few Americans who ever have a chance to make their peace in this sort of a setting. So I hope you're going to come back at some time. I hope you're going to come back rather than being as incriminated, but rather being enlightened, and to enlighten the people up here in front, and you're on the right trajectory to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys.